Hello and welcome. I'm Ben from Dscout. In this video, I'll be exploring 3 considerations when building qualitative feedback surveys, and I'll be using Dscout Express to do it. Express is like a mini interview, or getting a little bit from a lot of people. You might ask folks to show you their at-home work setup and the one tool they wish they had, or compare 2 app concepts and tell you which one is better and why. Or in the example that I'll be using throughout this video, what makes a brand trustworthy to you. Dscout Express is great when you need to inject some empathy into an ongoing research strategy or gut check before you go in a particular direction. It's at scale, it's very fast, and it's still mobile qual. So it's a balance between that quant and the open-ended interpretations that make good user experience possible. So let's get started with our considerations. Our first consideration involves language, specifically moving from tell me something to show me something. Because Dscout operates mostly on smartphones, show me allows us to go lots of different places, and it spurs creativity and engagement between you and the participant, which ultimately creates better data. In the example we're looking at here, I wanted folks to talk about and I wanted to better understand the notion of trust between brands and those they try to serve. Again, I could have very easily just asked for people to tell me about trust, the characteristics of it, a time when they felt like they trusted a brand, the brands that they trust, and so on. Instead, I've asked for folks to show me a pie chart that they've created comprising the characteristics that they think go into trust between them and brands. Let's look at an example. This shift in language really spurs creativity. So you can see that in my questions, especially the media ones, Dscout can collect things like selfie videos, photographs, screen grabs, these sorts of things. Show me anchors the participants in an activity. It gets them engaged. It really spurs and stokes imagination. And again, it creates better data. So here we have the photograph of the person's pie chart with good reviews, easy to communicate with, the various characteristics of trust for them. And then this scout actually held up, scout is what we call our participants. This scout actually held up the notebook that they used and walked me through cognitively the characteristics of trust. So with the simple shift from tell me to show me, our data are grounded in an action. And again, you can see how this could be extended to any number of use cases. Show me how you get to work. Show me the spaces in your house where you find peace. Any sorts of things. When you ground it in an activity, the data really do become much more actionable, innovative, and creative. And that's what we're looking for, especially with experience research tackling tougher, more conceptual topics like trust, for example. So make sure that when you can, use show me language as opposed to tell me language. Next, let's talk open-ended questions. You know you want to program lots of them, and we have to be strategic and careful. Participants are answering on Dscout using their mobile phones, and so thumb fatigue is a real thing. It will affect the quality of your data, and it also doesn't really show consideration and care for the participant's time. So the first thing within open-ends is use them sparingly. Remember, you have a video question or a photo question or a screen recording question. You have a media prompt. You can really dig into creativity, imaginative responses, and ask something that will require from them rich descriptions in that. Save your very important question for that video prompt or media prompt, and then use other open-ends, no more than 2 or 3, to texture, color, and add in context around that. Let me show you how I did that here with our trust mission. So I asked them in question 4 to list the 4 characteristics of brands that they trust. And I just asked for those 4 characteristics. I don't say to define each of the characteristics. I'm not looking for anything more than just 4 qualities separated by commas. Where possible, use the stem of your question to give suggestions, coaching, and hints at the sort of the kind of response you're looking for. Are you looking for several sentences, just a few words, in a title, in a tweet style response? This goes a long way to focusing, guardrailing, and clarifying for the person what it is you're looking for. You're not giving away anything, but if you can add context around the question in a few sentences, describe. In a tweet style response, tell me. That helps them understand what you're looking for without leading them in any particular way. And I've done that down here. Dscout allows you to put a character limit of 140, the old school tweet, as it were, on open ends. And so for questions 8 and 9, I ask them for the brand that they have the most and least trust in, and I ask why. I don't need 10 sentences. If anything, having fewer characters focuses them to give me a little more pith with their response. They can be sharp, they can be concise. So use open ends, certainly. Use them sparingly and use them strategically. Okay, let's close with closed-ended questions. They help you inject some quant into your qual feedback. They also help break up the activity for participants. The third reason that you should include closed-ended questions is because they can, on certain occasions, help you code and tag your data as it's coming in. So for this example here on trust and brands, I know that I'm interested in looking at how trust might flex across different product categories. Now, I could have simply asked another open end of people, what categories of products do you have the most trust in, or do you need the most trust in and the least? But I knew that I could come up with a mutually exclusive and exhaustive list of options, the two hallmarks of a good closed-ended question. So I can capture all the responses, and the responses can be discrete from one another. And so you can see here in questions 10 and 11, I've gone ahead and pulled categories that I've gleaned from Walmart and Amazon, two sources I fairly trust about retail categories. And you can see that I've asked them to select 3 in each. Now, the benefit of this is when I click over into the entries grid, which is where I'm looking at all of the submissions, I'm shown a lot of responses here, but I can go along the left-hand side and I can filter by folks' responses. So if I am, say, in the electronics world, or I am in the home furnishings world, I can click on any of those particular tags or responses, and I can see just the moments, just the responses where a person said, yep, that's very important for me, or nope, that's not very important for me. It also has the benefit of making use of our closed-ended frequency generator. So I just clicked right over here on this little grid icon. And if we scroll down to the bottom, this shows all of our closed-ended questions, including questions 10 and 11. With a simple click, I can sort by from least to greatest, and I can see quickly at a glance, electronics are the number 1, followed by clothing and beauty and personal care for things I really need trust in. And then least needing trust categories are office supplies, arts and crafts, and movies, music, and books. So before I even go in and start tagging, I have some high-level guardrails. I have some gut checks to understand what's going on. I can export these graphs if I want to, drop them into a deck, or I can go back to the grid view and start filtering by specific responses. So again, closed-ended questions help you get quant into your qual, but they also help tag, sort, and filter in a real meaningful way that speeds up your analysis time. To see these considerations in action or check out the data for yourself, visit the URL on your screen. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you again soon.